AITA for wearing noise-canceling headphones when our baby is crying? I am not the OOP. OOP is you. Throw away noise cancel. AITA for wearing noise-canceling headphones when our baby is crying? Originally posted to r. Am I the asshole? Original post May 8, 2023. Forward. I'm pretty certain I'm the asshole. Family agree I'm in the wrong. But one friend is saying I'm not. Also, even if I'm not the asshole, my wife isn't either. She's an incredible mom, amazing wife, and the love of my life. Me, 33M, and my wife, 30F, have a little baby, 0.25F, who for the most part is a chill and happy little thing who makes our world shine. But as with any baby, she cries, and sometimes a lot. I'm diagnosed autistic and as a result have some pretty severe sensory issues, particularly around sound, and particularly when I'm tired. I have noise-canceling headphones which are a godsend, so I started wearing them when I found her crying too overwhelming, particularly when I get up at night with her. To clarify, I can still hear her crying and I don't put them on so I can ignore her crying. Quite the opposite. I wear them so I can hold her without feeling overwhelmed. Also, it's just her being a baby, not a medical thing. Most of the time she's a joy. I love our 2 a.m. feeds when it feels like nobody else in the world is awake except us, enjoying the stillness and solitude. I love her so much. My wife hates it and has asked me to stop. She said that being a parent involves having to cope with the bad stuff. It's what we signed up for, and that it's important not to block out her crying so I can feel what our daughter is feeling. She also said that it probably scares our daughter to see her dad with stuff on his head when she's at her most distressed. What she said makes a lot of sense, so I stopped wearing them and handled the resulting meltdowns afterwards. But when I was talking to a friend, he said that's an unreasonable demand. I'm not a bad dad and my needs with my disability matter too. TLDR. AITA for wearing noise-canceling headphones when my daughter is crying to manage sensory issues? Verdict. Not the asshole. Relevant comments. Allison Bork 128. The baby could need something. What if it was choking or needing a nappy changing? If you do change it could get an infection. You are sad. OOP replied. I can still hear her. And I only wore them when I'm physically holding her with eyes on her the whole time. Sour notes rock hard abs. Info. Does your wife really understand your autism? You having it increases the chance that your kid might have it too. Has she considered that normalizing autistic accommodations might make your daughter's life easier? Later. I'm an autistic mom. I wear headphones all the time. Learn some ASL too and teach it to your baby while they're little. It's been incredibly helpful. OOP replied. For the most part she's amazing with my autism. She can pick up on my needs before I can even articulate them into words and respond accordingly. But on this she was in the wrong. I might do an update later. As for sign language, absolutely. Over here we have a kids show called Something Special which is insanely popular and uses Macatone throughout, and always has children of various abilities and disabilities as guest stars. Obviously our daughter is too young to understand it, but me and my wife love watching it with her and practice the signing. Eventually I'd like to learn British Sign Language too. Update May 17, 2023. Thank you to everyone who replied, especially those who took it as advice on coping with crying babies. I hope it brings you some much-needed relief. You're doing a brilliant job, and please remember to look after yourself. The first thing I have to address is my wife is not ableist. Far from it. She's been an absolute rock for me through everything. Some examples are she suggested I get diagnosed before we were even dating. Encourages me to stim and indulge my special interests. Despite wanting a big wedding, she insisted we have a private official ceremony and a party after. our honeymoon with scheduled rest breaks for me. She always checks in on me in all social situations, and she even bought me the expensive noise-canceling headphones. I don't deserve her, but I'm grateful for her every single day. She's the best part of me. Perhaps because she's been nothing but supportive, I automatically believed she was right about me caring for our daughter. But in this particular case, she was in the wrong and has said so. She wasn't best pleased I'd ask strangers. I have her consent for this update, but understood why I did and had been thinking it over herself after seeing what it was doing to me. Turns out I wasn't anywhere near as good at hiding my meltdowns as I thought I was. After a lot of talking, she said she felt angry and frustrated that, in her view, I was breezing through parenthood while she feels like she's drowning. What really hit me is when she said she feels like a bad mom and a failure. My amazing wife. The best mother I could ever imagine for our daughter. The woman with seemingly boundless love and care felt like she's failing as a mother. I wish she could see herself the way I see her just once. Part of me feels like I've failed her for not noticing how she was feeling. I think I was so caught up in my own joy that I missed her suffering. Obviously, we're not in a good place right now, but we're going to talk to the health visitor about getting her the help she needs and what's available so she can get better, but it sounds like PPD from what we've read. In the meantime, I'm going to work from home 23 days a week once my manager has sorted the insurance out so she's not alone as much. The plan was for me to take the last 20 weeks of parental leave anyway. I'm going to book a session with my therapist. And the headphones are back. For both of us. She tried them a few days ago and said how much calmer and in control she felt. And how our daughter settles so much quicker. She's probably reading this and finding out that I've ordered her a pair and they'll be here Friday. If you are reading this, I love you. Relevant comments. By link C. This is a great update and everything. But I find it concerning that the wife's first instinct for dealing with her own suffering wasn't to talk about it or acknowledge it, but to essentially say you should be suffering too to her husband. And then take steps to try and make that happen. Maybe it's a one-off. Maybe it's PPD. But still, that needs to be addressed. It's a super unhealthy pattern to get into. Oop replied. I'd definitely say it's a one-off related to her being unwell. She's such a kind and loving person that I know there was no conscious attempt to be malicious. With the right help and support, we'll get through it and she'll be back to the person she really is. Inva. And the headphones are back. For both of us. She tried them a few days ago and said how much calmer and in control she felt. And how our daughter settles so much quicker. Yes. 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 A baby's cries can activate our adrenaline fight or flight responses so that we can, I don't know, fight off a bear or wake up from a dead sleep. Its purpose is to get an adult moving to care for and or protect the baby. It can be absolute overload on your system to be flooded with stress hormones multiple times a day. Yes. Headphones for everybody. Edit. Also, big ups to your wife for recognizing that she was being unreasonable and shifting her perspective. That's awesome and really hard to do. I am so impressed. And I hope she doesn't feel shame around this but empowered that she was finally able to hear feedback and adjust. Oop replied. I know she does feel some guilt and shame. She's the kind of person who hates upsetting anyone. But hopefully that will pass. Any distress I felt was very temporary. I'm okay. Our daughter is okay and we both want her to be okay. This is a repost sub IAM, not the oop. Describing a baby's age as 0.25 is a new one for me. Tears of joy. That first commenter deserves an award for missing the point in mental gymnastics. I once read on Twitter that AITA posts will have the absolute appalling title and the person will end up being NTA. It's the mundane titles where the op is a psycho. This rings true for this post. Always put on your own mask before helping others. Someone tells you otherwise, side-eye the heck out of them. In a lot of ways, parenthood is like hitting the reset button on a relationship. Sometimes we have to relearn how to communicate with our spouse. I'm glad they were able to have an honest convo about it all. It did seem likely the wife was struggling and resentful her husband was adjusting more quickly. They sound like a lovely couple. When I was pregnant, I talked to my husband about getting noise-canceling headphones for when he's crying and we're holding him. He was pretty firmly against the idea, so I never got them. Our baby cries more when I hold him, but his crying stresses out my husband more. I wonder if I should bring it up again, although I doubt his answers changed. I'm autistic and was going to write about how one of my triggers is babies crying. And children yell, laughing. Are you being attacked or happy? Make up your mind. Then I read the third paragraph. I almost cry myself when I hear babies crying. I don't blame Whoop one bit. It feels like I'm suddenly slammed with anxiety and depression, going from 0 to 100.
Yay for headphones.
What a positive resolution. I'm glad they were able to calm down and talk about it, and turn his solution into a way to help her feel less overwhelmed as well. My goodness, the way he writes about his wife and daughter is truly touching. I'd seen the original but not the update post, so glad they were able to communicate about this in a healthy way. You can feel the love they have for each other. Hopefully they can keep that as they ease into therapy and more support. I'm glad they were able to both communicate in the end and discover they both need help. I'm also autistic, and while PPD is a whole other beast which I pray I'll never have to experience firsthand, I am diagnosed chronic depressive. The commenter somewhat insinuating the wife was toxic is why Reddit's, especially AITA, black and white, you're all bad or all good, or deserve help and support or nothing at all attitude is so incredibly detrimental for actually getting help. Her brain is misfiring. She's sick. She made a mistake. It was corrected and she apologized and she knows it was wrong. That is quite literally the healthiest way to deal with mental illness. No one gets to handwave bad behavior but wanting to get help and never repeating that behavior again. Taking accountability? That's huge. There is a huge difference between someone toxic using their mental health as a shield and someone just genuinely struggling and making a poor decision. I'm not autistic and I don't have any sensory issues, but I did the same thing with my second kid. He had colic, however you spell it, and the crying was just too much most days. I'd just make sure he wasn't hungry or needed a diaper change. Throw the headphones on, and we'd walk around the house with me rubbing his back until it was over. You gotta do what you gotta do as a parent sometimes. When we start communicating, we start achieving progress. Love the update. Yeah, my partner is autistic and totally stressed when my godchild was over that he might cry. I told him to go in the other room if it happened and I'd settle godchild. Anytime we're in public and a child is crying loudly and the parent is doing nothing to stop it, we just have to leave the area, building. He can't cope. Too overwhelming. Parenting is coping with the hard stuff. And using headphones when your baby is screaming is coping. It's a great tool for anyone. Sensory issues or not. Listening to screaming is hard. I'm glad they communicated. The postpartum period is rough. They need that communication to survive together. Something Special is an amazing program. It's on CBeebies, part of the BBC group of channels, and have watched what seems like a zillion episodes when my two sons were little. They are not ND or have any disabilities, but that really doesn't matter. Justin Fletcher, the guy who created it and stars in it, as himself and as all members of the Tumble family, has done so much. And with Macatone, unfortunately. I only remember the sign for strawberry though, but that was a few years ago. On a side note, can't mention CBBS without a shout out to Bluey and Hey Dougie. The Stick song is still my ringtone to this day. If you know, you know. If I'd have had noise-canceling headphones, I'd have been a much calmer mom. Exclamation mark. Genius. NTA. I actually bought some loop earbuds for my son and Dill that work similarly. They were overwhelmed at times with the noise from 2 kids and 3 dogs. They can still hear, but it's like it takes the edge off.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.